The screech of tires on wet asphalt pierced the quiet suburban night like a knife through silk, jolting me from my armchair where I'd been nursing a lukewarm coffee, the bitter steam curling up like ghosts in the dim lamplight. It was her again, Karen, the self-appointed queen of Willow Creek Homeowners Association, slamming her shiny BMW i4 into the communal charging station, the one meant for emergencies, not her entitled joyrides. I'd watched this farce unfold for weeks, her plugging in that electric beast, draining power that wasn't hers, while the rest of us paid the inflated HOA fees to keep the lights on. But tonight, something snapped inside me, a raw fury bubbling up like acid in my throat. And I just knew this theft had to end, one way or another. My name's Alex, a quiet electrician by trade, the kind who fixes flickering bulbs and faulty wires without fanfare, living in this cookie-cutter neighborhood where everyone pretends to smile through gritted teeth. Willow Creek was supposed to be a haven, with its manicured lawns smelling of fresh-cut grass and distant barbecue smoke. But Karen turned it into a battlefield. She was the HOA president, a peroxide blonde tornado in yoga pants, always barking orders about hedge heights and trash bin placements. Her voice a shrill echo that bounced off the white picket fences like nails on a chalkboard. It's for the community, she'd sneer at meetings, her manicured nails tapping impatiently on the podium. But we all knew her community meant her alone. And now, this, siphoning electricity for her fancy BMW, the one she bragged about at every block party, its sleek curves gleaming under streetlights as if mocking our sensible sedans. I sighed deeply that night, the sound heavy in my chest like a stone sinking in water, as I peered through my curtains, the fabric rough against my fingertips. The charging station hummed faintly, a low buzz that vibrated through the air, feeding her car while our shared grid strained. Bills had skyrocketed 20% last month alone, and whispers rippled through the cul-de-sac like wind through leaves. It's her. You know, that damn car. But no one dared confront her. Karen had a way of twisting words, turning complaints into harassment, reports filed with laser precision. Me, I'd stayed silent too long, my frustration simmering like a pot left on low heat, the steam building until it threatened to explode. The next morning dawned crisp, the air carrying the sharp tang of dew on pavement, birds chirping sporadically as if hesitant to start the day. I grabbed my toolbox, the metal clinking softly like distant chimes, and headed to the HOA clubhouse under the guise of routine maintenance. Karen was there already, of course, perched at her desk like a vulture, her coffee mug steaming with what smelled like overpriced vanilla latte. "Alex, darling," she cooed, her voice dripping false sweetness that made my skin crawl. "Make sure you check the outlets. My BMW needs a full charge for my spa day." I nodded, biting back a retort, my jaw clenching so hard I tasted blood. Inside, rage flickered like a faulty bulb. How dare she? This wasn't just power. It was our money, our peace, stolen bit by bit. As I knelt by the panel, wires snaking like veins under my hands, the cool metal grounding me momentarily, a plan formed, sharp and vengeful. Reroute the power. Not to cut it off had it be too obvious, too traceable back to me. No, something cleverer, something that'd bite her where it hurt. The grease traps, those filthy pits behind the community pool house, reeking of rancid oil and forgotten burgers from summer cookouts, buzzing with flies in the heat. If I linked her charging line to the trap pumps, it'd surge unpredictably, maybe even overflow, turning her pristine world into a slippery mess. My heart raced, a thunderous drum in my ears, as I twisted the wires, the faint spark crackling like a whisper of justice. But life, as it often does, threw in a curveball that afternoon. While I was double-checking my handiwork, hidden behind the clubhouse shrubs that scratched at my arms like accusing fingers, a new face appeared. Old Mr. Harlan from down the street, his cane tapping rhythmically on the sidewalk, a sound like Morse code in the quiet. He was the neighborhood recluse, a Vietnam vet with stories etched in the lines of his weathered face, rarely seen outside his overgrown yard. "Saw what you're doing, son," he rasped, his voice gravelly from years of cigarettes. the faint scent of tobacco clinging to his flannel shirt. I froze, sweat beading on my forehead, tasting salty on my lips. Was he going to rat me out? But no, his eyes twinkled with a mischief I hadn't expected, a spark that cut through my panic like sunlight through clouds. That Karen's been stealing from all of us. Back in Nam, we called it resource redistribution. Let me help. He pulled out a faded photo from his wallet, yellowed edges crinkling softly him and his squad. Young and defiant. Lost friends to cheats like her. Time for payback. His words hit me like a gust of wind, stirring emotions I hadn't anticipated, gratitude mixed with sorrow, a lump forming in my throat as I swallowed hard. Harlan wasn't just a bystander. He was a ghost from the past, injecting depth into my solitary revenge. Together, we refined the setup, his gnarled hand steady as he suggested a timer relay, the click of it engaging like a promise. As we worked, the air filled with the earthy smell of soil from the nearby flower beds, bees humming lazily overhead, a serene contrast to the storm brewing inside me. Doubt crept in. Was this right? A sigh escaped me, long and weary, as I wiped my brow. But Harlan's quiet resolve, his breath coming in measured puffs, steadied me. This wasn't just about me anymore. It was about the unsung, the overlooked. That evening, as dusk painted the sky in bruised purples, the trap sprung. Karen pulled up in her BMW, the engine purring smoothly before she plugged in, the cord snapping into place with a satisfying click that echoed mockingly. I watched from my porch, the wooden railing cool under my palms, heart pounding like a war drum. At first, nothing then. A distant gurgle, like a stomach protesting bad food, rising from the grease traps. The pumps kicked in, rerouted power surging wildly. And suddenly, a foul eruption, thick, oily sludge spewing forth, splattering the pavement with a wet slap. The stench hitting like a punch rotten eggs and fried fat mingling in the humid air. Karen's scream shattered the twilight, high-pitched and furious, cutting through the neighborhood like a siren. What the hell is this? She shrieked, jumping back as the grease pooled around her designer sneakers, squelching underfoot. Neighbors emerged, doors creaking open one by one, murmurs building like a gathering storm. I feigned surprise, stepping out with a flashlight, its beams slicing through the growing darkness. Looks like a malfunction, I called, my voice steady despite the adrenaline buzzing in my veins. Inside, triumph swelled, hot and sweet, but tempered by a flicker of guilt had I gone too far. The chaos escalated quickly. The overflow didn't just ruin her charge. It backed up into the storm drains, a viscous river snaking toward the street, cars swerving with horns blaring angrily. Karen, face flushed red as a tomato, whipped out her phone, dialing the police with trembling fingers, her breaths coming in sharp, hysterical gasps. Someone sabotaged this. I demand an investigation, she wailed, the words laced with venom. But as officers arrived, sirens wailing in the distance before fading to a low whine, flashlights dancing like fireflies, the truth unraveled thread by thread. Harlan, bless his unexpected soul, had tipped off a friend on the force anonymously, old military connections running deep like roots in soil. The cops inspected the setup, their boots squishing in the muck, the air thick with the acrid smell that made eyes water. Ma'am, this charging station's not authorized for personal use, one officer said, his voice firm, badge glinting under the streetlights. HOA records show it's communal, and you've been drawing power illegally. That's theft of services. Karen's face crumpled, from rage to disbelief, her lips parting in a silent gasp as reality crashed down. Fines were mentioned, thousands. Plus cleanup cost, the words hanging heavy like storm clouds. But the real twist came when they traced the reroute. I held my breath, chest tight as a coiled spring, expecting the finger to point my way. Instead, Harlan stepped forward, cane thumping defiantly. It was me, he confessed, voice steady as oak. Tired of her bullying. Check the wires, I did it alone. My jaw dropped, a rush of emotions flooding me, shock, admiration, a stinging tear. I blinked away. Why? He caught my eye, winking subtly. and I understood sacrifice for the greater good. A lesson from his war days echoing in that simple gesture. The police carted Karen off for questioning, her protests fading into the night like dying echoes. The BMW towed away, its once proud gleam dulled by grease streaks. Fines hit her hard over $5,000, plus community service scrubbing those very traps. The irony biting like cold wind. As for Harlan, a lenient slap on the wrist. Community hailing him a hero in hushed tones over backyard fences. In the aftermath, as rain began to patter softly on rooftops, washing away the mess with a rhythmic hush, I sat with Harlan on his porch. The creak of rocking chairs a soothing lullaby. "Why take the fall?" I asked, voice thick with unspoken thanks. He sighed, long and reflective, staring at the stars peeking through clouds. "Son, justice ain't always clean. Sometimes, you reroute the power to where it's needed most back to the people." His words lingered, inspiring a warmth that chased away the chill. A reminder that in the face of entitlement, quiet rebellion can spark change. Willow Creek breathed easier that night. The air fresher, the community tighter, proving that even in suburbia's shadows, standing up together turns the tide. And as I walked home, the distant hum of normalcy returning, I felt it, not just victory, but hope, raw and real, pulsing like a heartbeat in the dark.